Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and XRP may be the positive black swan. Check this out from Riz XRP. Apparently, PetroDollar put out their August blockchain letter, and there's apparently an excerpt from where they put in there that Brad Garlinghouse had sent out an email to shareholders, advisors, and friends and said this. Here are the key takeaways from the court's decision. XRP is a digital token. It is not in and of itself a security. Sales of XRP on exchanges are not securities. Sales of XRP by executives are not securities. Other XRP distributions to developers, to charities, to employees are not securities. To the extent we made institutional sales direct to institutional buyers in the U.S., those did constitute securities. And so that is the they were literally in their newsletter calling it a positive black swan. I love it. Thanks for the thumbnail, PetroDollar. Let me back that up. There we go. Okay, I wanted to play you this clip. There's a great thread from Link2, who is one of my sponsors. There was a great thread of some of the video clips of that interview with John Deaton, of which we've covered some things. Hold on, somebody's trying to call me. Call you in. They always call. So anyway, they always call while I'm doing a video. So this is a clip from Joe Indoso that I don't think I had played that I wanted to show you because it has to do with Ripple and all that's going on. They do have Ripple private equity on the Link2 platform.
You don't need to have a trust relationship with your counterparty because of, the ability on those blockchains to exchange value through what's called atomic settlements, where cryptographically you can ensure that both sides of a transaction have the asset they say they have and have the capability to make that exchange. In the non-blockchain world, you need trusted intermediaries because there is no such thing as an atomic settlement. So there is that risk that if I send Nick the money for the XRP that he says he's going to send to me, he might not actually have the XRP. I don't know. The way you solve that in the traditional world is you have something in between called a bank. And the bank basically guarantees that Nick is good for the XRP he says he has, and I'm good for the cash I say I have, right? And they take a slice of that transaction. Sometimes it's a huge slice. And so it's eliminating that intermediary function by a trusted intermediary. And that has significant implications. It makes it cheaper and faster and easier for Nick and me to transact. But guess what? It puts that intermediary out of business. And that's the reason why this transition isn't happening fast, right?
Joe, I would tell you, some would argue that why we've been waiting in litigation for 3 years is the exact point you made. I just want people to understand for a second that, right or wrong, Ripple chose to disrupt, if you will, a half-century old legacy banking system that's built on immediate.
They chose to come at the king.
Friction fees, right? You just talked about that intermediary takes a big slice sometimes. And so Ripple chose to say, hey, we're going to disrupt this, and we're going to show you a system that takes away all those immediate fees. Bankers aren't excited for that, right? When they see that they're going to lose that fee structure built on friction, and you're going to take away that friction, they're not all too excited sometimes. And some would argue that because of that disruption, this case got filed the way.
Oh, yes. And also because, look, right now, there is no, this is what just drives me crazy when I see all these people go negative. There's not actually there's two here. XRP and Ripple private equity. Those are the two there's more pin-up demand on those two investments than anything that there is, because when this thing blows, it's going to blow. And I don't think that people truly understand what really happened in that ruling. And I think that's why they're calling it a positive black swan. Okay, enter Saudi Arabia, exit PetroDollar.
As the 5 BRICS countries, we have reached agreement on the guiding principles, standards, criteria, and procedures of the BRICS expansion process, which has been in discussion for quite a while. We have consensus on the first phase of this expansion process, and other phases will follow. We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024.
Folks, I'm getting a real all the world's a stage red file feeling. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here, but I'm getting that feeling. Let me tell you why. There's two reasons why, really. The first reason is, while all this BRICS goes on, we have a president who literally doesn't know his name and is falling asleep in Maui and he's getting cussed out as he walks down the street. That doesn't make any sense. Nothing about what's going on makes any sense. And the other thing is, there's one huge piece of the puzzle that seems to be nowhere to be found while all this is going on, and it's probably, I've always said, Israel is the most powerful country on the planet, not the United States. And Israel is missing from this puzzle. You don't see Israel anywhere, okay? And that tells me that there's a lot more going on than we think. And I'm going to tie in Israel here in a second. Watch this.
New members. As President Ramaphosa just said, it's with great pleasure that Brazil gives the welcome to the BRICS, to Saudi Arabia, to Argentina, to the new members, to Egypt, to the United Arab Emirates, to Ethiopia, and to Iran. Now, the GDP of the BRICS is going up to 37% of the world GDP in terms of purchasing power and 46% in terms of the world population. BRICS will continue open to new members, and for that we also approved criteria procedures for future members.
I've always believed that this whole Ripple XRP thing, we were a part of something much bigger than just another investment and all that stuff. That's why I don't ever get distracted by a lot of these little things where they might call it building a company when they're really just issuing a token and all that stuff. I've never been distracted by those things because I'm not in sync with that. I'm in sync with the bigger picture of what's going on here. This is what's going on here. And this was from, he says, guess who's back at Jackson Hole? Every year in Jackson Hole, they talk about geopolitical things, and all these leaders come to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Great place. I've actually stood where they're standing right there. I went and visited Jackson Hole a couple of years ago. Unbelievable place, expensive place. But what are the chances that the day after the BRICS summit, and we're watching Saudi Arabia. Now remember, when you see Saudi Arabia going in, that is the death of the petrodollar, which equals the death of the standard of living of every American, folks. Make no mistake. We've covered this a lot on this channel. And I refuse to believe that they didn't have a long-term plan for how we were going to roll out of this system into the new to protect American standard of living. And I believe part of the plan was XRP. I've always believed that. Let me share with you some interesting facts that many of you probably don't know. Before ETHgate, I was covering this stuff. And I just happened to bring it back up in the last few days. Maybe for a reason, maybe not for a reason. These are facts. I can prove them all. Charles Kushner, who is Jared Kushner's father. Jared Kushner is Donald Trump's son-in-law, married to Ivanka. They've been good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu for decades. I believe not just Israel, but Benjamin Netanyahu is probably the most powerful person in the world. Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner, are also good friends with Ken Kurson since around 2001. Ken Kurson is good friends with Rudy Giuliani. He wrote his book and ran the presidential campaign. Wrote speeches for Trump, previously on Ripple board. Ken Kurson was arrested by the FBI in October 2020, just right before the election and all of that mess, supposedly for stalking. I've always wondered if we've seen these guys, they're now arresting people for all kinds of stuff. It's like we have the brown shirts in this country now. But I always wondered if they arrested him. Remember, he was writing the speeches for Trump. I always wondered if they arrested him to get to his computer so that they could get something on Trump going into. That's what I always thought might be going on. And then later Trump pardoned him, but he was on the Ripple board. Ken Kurson was. Ken Kurson also, I believe, is the man who approached Trump to run for office in the first place. I don't believe that he approached him. I know he approached him, and you have to wonder who sent him to approach him. Here, this is Netanyahu slept at the Kushners, media tales of Trump's Jewish confidants. Netanyahu has long been a friend of the Kushners, and particularly Jared's dad, Charles Kushner, a major donor to pro-Israel Jewish causes. One time Cantor reports she doesn't specify when Jared gave up his bed and moved to the basement. I'm sure it wasn't that way. I'm sure they just gave him the extra bedroom because these are rich people. But listen to what Ken Kurson says here. I'll fast forward to it.
We can talk about that, but talk about how you came to the paper. How did Jared Kushner find you? Did you know him?
I did know Jared. Jared's been a close personal friend. I'm a friend of his entire family. His father, Charlie, is my good friend since I think about 2000 or 2001. So by the time Jared hired me to run the Observer in 2013, I knew the whole family well for many years.
Hear my words, folks. If you're the United States or you're Israel, you do not leave to chance Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 1 was done after World War II when they all went on the gold standard. Bretton Woods 2 was when Nixon broke the agreement and took us off the gold standard. And Bretton Woods 3, I believe, involves Ripple and XRP, and I believe it involves gold, and I believe that these people would not leave something this big to chance. I believe that behind the scenes people have been talking and negotiating and working for years. I'll leave it there. I've seen this movie, folks. This doesn't end well. The one area of the markets that have not really been crushed is real estate. Monthly mortgage payment based on median existing home now at a record $2,322 a month. This is double the $1,200 peak seen in 2008. Strap in, folks. Now, Jimmy Valley, I don't know why he did this, but I don't miss things usually. You remember a couple of months back, they were Molly Elmore and Jimmy were putting out this report. What is the fair market value of XRP? Yesterday, Jimmy Valley, out of nowhere, he's been kind of quiet. He tweets 2 months ago the undisputed fair market value of XRP. I'm wondering why. There's something going on there. Then James Phelan had put this out. Counsel for Ripple has informed Judge Torres that Ripple is available for trial anytime in the second quarter of 2024. Jeremy Hogan's makes an interesting comment. Why do I get the feeling that one way or another this trial is never going to happen? I don't think that came out of nowhere either. Then we got this. I was drawing everyone's attention to the fact, to this Mr. Huber thread yesterday, And I said everyone in crypto should read this thread, especially the part where Ashley Prosper files a Freedom of Information Act with the SEC to get any email communications between the SEC and JP Morgan about Ripple. Then supposedly the emails get deleted from JP Morgan. It just happened, accident. So this guy says those emails, if present, are still available at the SEC, though, unless SEC accidentally deletes them. Ashley Prosper says, nope, they just claim they are confidential. And my research shows it is hard to get a court to do an in-camera review when an agency claims confidentiality. The main point of the FOIA was to see if there were communications, and now we know there were. Hopefully a more powerful entity like Empower and Jason Forrester can pick up where I left off. So I retweeted this and to ask Jason Forrester and Empower if they could pick up. Then we have this out of nowhere dropping. Digital Dollar Project and Western Union pilot CBDC for cross-border remittances. And Digital Perspectives put this clip up. This is Christian Carlo of the Digital Dollar Project.
Oh, good. Giving them a standard set of technological protocols to use. So in short, our proposals, I think, is a quite simple one. And that is that there be a independent enterprise. Now, it can be a quasi-governmental. There's certainly a role for strict standards and government role in this. But having been in the government, knowing how difficult it is to actually do technological innovation in government, being a representative of government that couldn't build a medical website, and after 3 tries eventually went to the private sector to get it done. This has really got to be built, if it's going to be built on time and built, it's got to be built with private sector involvement.
Going to be built with private sector involvement. And then I retweeted this article. FTX is seeking appointment to appoint the asset management arm of billionaire Mike Novogratz Galaxy Digital to oversee the bankrupt crypto exchange hoard of tokens. If that's not electing the fox to monitor the hen house, I don't know what is. And I retweeted this and said, well, that's not shady at all. I mean, wow. I'll bet dimes to donuts that this is about as shady as it gets. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that this is Shady Defined. Thanks for listening.